Is Le Mans Ultimate more expensive than iRacing? Now, before you run to your keyboard, as you rightly should, I'm not expecting Le Mans Ultimate to be more expensive than iRacing. I know that on iRacing, you can literally spend thousands of dollars on content, and you can't do that on Le Mans Ultimate. I know that the base game on Le Mans Ultimate is cheaper than a year of iRacing. However, this has been kind of nagging me a little bit because I have a feeling in the back of my mind that iRacing for a year or 2 years is not as expensive as we think, and Le Mans Ultimate, with all of the actual tracks you might expect, is probably a little bit more than we think. That's in the back of my mind. I'm not biased here. I'm not paid by either Le Mans Ultimate or iRacing. I don't have a direct contractual relationship with either of them. Unlike some other YouTube channels who have literally been paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to make content on one of these games, but not me. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all my affiliates for both Le Mans Ultimate and iRacing in the description. So if you want to buy either of them, it's in the description. I'm not biased at all. But let's just unwrap what this is about, because when Le Mans Ultimate was launched in early access, and I bought the early access version with my own money, it didn't feel like it was going to be a iRacing subscription kind of game. I think that's fair enough. We were really excited to have Le Mans Ultimate with a load of content available in single player and also a really exciting multiplayer experience as well. But we weren't expecting to pay necessarily a subscription on top. We weren't necessarily expecting to pay for individual DLC at that point. I thought it was going to be a traditional game where you pay your money and you get your game, and that's great. Maybe some bigger DLC packs down the line. Where we are now with Le Mans Ultimate is that the game is much better than it was at launch. It's now a really compelling, fantastic GT3 driving. Remember, GT3s weren't even in the game when I originally bought it. And you got the hypercars, and you got the LMP2s, and you got iconic tracks, and you got the licensing for the drivers and the circuits. Well, I place a lot of weight on that. And you also have their online system as well that a lot of people are really praising. And you have career mode coming later down the road, and you also have driver swaps as well. Now on the iRacing side, we get the model. You have to have an active subscription to use iRacing. If you don't have an active subscription, you can't drive on iRacing. That is the chalice. That is the thing that really irritates people. That is basically the bargain with iRacing. If you subscribe, you get access. And that's why the recent cheating scandals and the Split 22 kind of destroying everyone's race scandal is really important, because the iRacing bargain only holds up, in my opinion, if the online racing is really clean and the safety rating system is working as intended. It's such an incredible system iRacing did that Gran Turismo basically copied it in GT Sport, and Gran Turismo opened Pandora's box and did a really good console, the best ever console sim racing online game in GT Sport, basically just aping iRacing's driver rating and safety racing. That's for another video. Let me know if you want that video in the comments about the future of Gran Turismo. When it comes to iRacing, that's a bargain. Okay, now what's happened later down the line is that it turns out that iRacing basically run the same promotions every year, so you can kind of tell how to get iRacing on the cheap. So the listed price for iRacing is not the price that anyone should be paying. And I have some of the biggest iRacing guides, beginner guides on YouTube, trying to help people not waste your money but have a good time in iRacing. Similarly on Le Mans Ultimate, I've been trying to explain what the base content is, what is not the base content, what Race Control Lite, Race Control Pro, Race Control Pro Plus is, because that is super complicated. I'm not sure anyone's doing a good job of explaining it. So let's actually get into the video now, which is Le Mans Ultimate more expensive than iRacing? So first of all, we're going to take the base game of Le Mans Ultimate, which is $38. So Le Mans Ultimate base game is $38, and I think that's actually good value for money. I've been on record, so I think $38 is good value for money in terms of what you're getting mainly on the single player side. So you're getting the original tracks that came with the game, the original GTEs, the LMP2s, and the original hypercars. What you're not getting with that, we'll get onto it, I'm going to list it exactly, is quite a few of the GT3s and some of the newer tracks, and also all the online side. Okay, so we've got $37. If you want to get all of that DLC and Le Mans Ultimate, if we're honest, and I'm speaking to you, the really strong Le Mans Ultimate fans who have been with me since day one in Le Mans Ultimate, really want the game to be a success, have stuck with it all through the Motorsport Games issues. If you're a big fan of Le Mans Ultimate, even you will accept that when you go into the game, there's a pop-up asking you to buy DLC. When you go and select cars, it pops up and wants you to buy DLC. When you go into the online multiplayer, it says you need a Race Control Pro or Pro Plus subscription. Like it's in your face that there's lots more content in the game that you don't have access to the base subscription. What's the best way to do that? Arguably, because who the hell knows, because it's so complicated, but let's say it's a Race Control Pro Plus subscription. Sounds like a tablet you should be taking, Pro Plus. That's $84. Okay, so we add the $84 to the $38 and we get $122 if my maths is correct. That gives you all of the DLC. It gives you either instant reporting or priority instant reporting. I'm not super clear on it, but there is some element that you need to pay to report instants online, which is obviously all covered in iRacing. It gives you custom liveries. So online, to have custom liveries, you need to pay. In iRacing, that's all done really through trading paints, which is free. I've never paid for it. It also gives you access to the online championships and I believe like special events, and I believe also practice service for the daily races. It's definitely like, it's not as simple as saying that you can do all multiplayer in Le Mans Ultimate if you don't have a Race Control Pro Plus subscription. It's not nearly there. There is a lot you can't do. So let's take $122, $84 of which is a yearly subscription. So as I understand it, you lose access to all of that DLC if you don't resubscribe on Race Control Pro Plus. Okay, so suddenly Le Mans Ultimate goes from being a $38 game to, if you want everything, a $122 game. And that kind of answers the question I had earlier in this video, which is that I have in the back of my mind a hunch that Le Mans Ultimate isn't as cheap as it first appears. Okay, and we'll get into the reasons why they're justified in asking for this money and why it's not a bad deal, etc. But $122. What about the iRacing side? Okay, so you look at the listed costs for iRacing or subscriptions and cars and tracks, and they seem kind of expensive, right? But actually, we're going to work out here an alternative to Le Mans Ultimate that I think is going to be surprising. So the first thing is iRacing runs regular offers on the subscription. As I speak, it seems to have a 40% blanket offer. So when you buy a year of iRacing subscription right now, it's about $60, $65 because it's 40% off. So for a year, you get is $60. Also on Black Friday, they do discounts, sometimes 50% off. So it goes down to, I think, like $55, something like that. And then they just did a summer sale, which I posted about, where it was like 64% off, I think, or 66% off. And basically it went down to about $40, I believe. So it was crazy cheap. There's also, and I need to make more videos on this, Motorsport UK, who I have a FIA karting license with Motorsport UK. I've raced nationally in the UK in karting. I also raced online with Motorsport UK when COVID hit because they moved a lot of championships online. They do this incredible thing, which I've covered in the Sim Racing Show. So, by the way, if you haven't subscribed to the Sim Racing Show, we're 64 episodes in. We talk about all these deals and everything. That gives you for $35, yes, $35. I'm not trying to shill this, I'm just saying this is a fact. $35, you get a year's subscription to iRacing and the F4 car. It's a mad deal. I'm not even sure whether you need to be in the UK to do it. Obviously, I can do it because I'm in the UK and I have a license and everything. But it's basically, I believe anyone in the UK at least, maybe globally, can pay, it's £28 or something, so about $35, and you get a year's subscription to iRacing and F4 car. That doesn't seem completely fair to do it like that. Why don't we call it like $45 as like an average price that you can buy at? When you look at the summer sale, Black Friday, the standard discount, and the Motorsport UK. So let's call it $45. So a year's subscription is $45 on iRacing. That gives you, I believe, it's either 26 cars or 30 cars or 26 tracks or 30 tracks. But it gives you about 30 cars and about 30 tracks. Now, a lot of these cars are not cars I would ever drive. A lot of the tracks are tracks I'll never drive, but everyone's different. I can tell you that I will drive the Mazda MX-5. I will drive the BMW M2 CS. You know I drive this thing, so I'm not reading here from a script. I'm not looking at a teleprompter. This is just me as a hardcore sim racing fan and someone with this YouTube channel telling you how it is. So I would race the MX-5, the BMW M2 I would race. I would also race the FF1600, so I race those cars a lot. And you've got some fun cars in there. You also have a load of street stock cars and like dirt cars and other cars that I wouldn't race, like the Formula V, I wouldn't race that. But there's cars that I would race. Now, if you take our $45, let's call it, and then you imagine we've got $122 to go up to, that gives us about, my maths is struggling now, $75 or so of headroom, which we can use to buy content. And over the year, we'll have the same licensed access to both, because Race Control Pro Plus is a yearly license and so is the iRacing subscription. If you buy a pack of 6 of content, believe you get 15% off in iRacing. If you also complete championships, you also get iRacing credits or dollars back. Okay? But if you just do 6 things, this is what I would do. I would buy the Ferrari 296 GT3. I would buy the Ferrari 499p hypercar. Okay, so I'd buy those 2. I'd buy Spa. Sorry for swearing at you. I'd buy Daytona. I'd buy Silverstone. And I'd buy either the Nordschleife or Le Mans, whichever one I prefer. Okay, so I'd buy those 6. That gives you your discount. So I need to do the maths here on screen, but I believe that will get you there or thereabouts to the $122. Maybe a little bit over, but it'll get you there or thereabouts. Now, this is where there's a fundamental difference between Le Mans Ultimate and iRacing, and it comes from the genesis of the games, right? So Le Mans Ultimate was launched with a lot of hype about this is going to come to console, and it's like a accessible licensed video game, right? We come at that as video gamers, sim racers who are gamers, we have consoles, we come at it from that aspect. It's going to make sense, trust me. So there we want to be experiencing the game, we want to be completing the game, we want to be driving all the different cars and driving on different tracks, right? Now, as someone, again, who's raced in real life, I've raced Mazda MX-5s in Spain, I've driven the Ferrari 488 GT in America, I've raced with Motorsport UK and karting. Like, I come from a little bit of that background, arguably more than the gaming background. I can tell you people treat iRacing from that background like it's real life, okay? And that means they're not treating it like a game. It is actually a simulation in a meta sense. So those people are less concerned about trying to drive every car and complete the game. They're more like, I want to buy a car and I want to use that car in championships. I want to use it in multiple series and I want to do a 24-hour endurance race in that car because I really understand it. I want to understand the setup. I want to understand the quirks of the car, and I want to understand where it's strong, where it's slow. So those are the kind of people that are going to be happy buying a Ferrari 296 GT3 and just going to really enjoy it. I was the same when I bought the Ferrari 488 GTE years ago on iRacing. That was my chariot and I loved driving it in endurance racing. I had the 488. That was the car I drove when I was team up with people. Used to stream every weekend on this channel. Endurance races, it was so much fun. We drive the Ferrari 488 GTE and then the GT3 variant. So that kind of makes sense, right? And you can do that in the BMW, in the MX-5. You've got the F4 car as well, which is like a really fun car to drive, especially in VR. So then what are we left with? Let's say it's comparable costs. What do we actually have? Okay, so now in Le Mans Ultimate, we have everything in the game. Okay, we have all of the hypercars. We're going to have everything else that they bring in terms of content. So whether it's free, like the Valkyrie and the AMG, or it's going to be paid, we're going to get it. Okay, like the BMW M4 G3 Evo, we're going to get that. Any new tracks they bring, like with ELMS, like Silverstone they're going to bring, we're going to get it. So we got that kind of like, whatever comes, I'm getting it. You don't get that with iRacing. I told you, I'm not shilling here for either side. You're not going to get that feeling with iRacing. If you got the Race Control Pro Plus, you're also going to feel like, yeah, I'm not just Pro, I'm Pro Plus. You're going to feel like a G, okay, because you're shelling out all this money. Whereas on iRacing, you're always going to feel like, subscription's ticking, better use it. Come on, let's be honest. Like we all feel like that. So you're going to have all that content in Le Mans Ultimate. You're going to, whatever it throws at you, you're going to get it. And you also feel like you're supporting maybe Le Mans Ultimate or motorsport games, which would not have been a fashionable thing a few years ago when they were just wasting all these licenses like IndyCar and NASCAR and everything, but everything's changed. With iRacing, it's going to be more of a focused approach. Like you're going to be like, these are my cars. I don't have access to any others. When they do the week 13 update, I might drive and jump into testing and try them out, but these are my cars. I'm limited. It's arguably more about my driving skill, my driver rating, people I'm racing against. You're going to have access to all of the special events for which you have the eligible cars and tracks. And I've suggested cars and tracks that will have special events. So you're going to have all of that. You're going to be able to report incidents. You're not going to feel like you're a lesser or greater tiered member. It's more like you're a member. We're all members. No one's more special than anyone else, which might be interesting on the Pro Plus side. So when you look at that for 1 year, I think you will have already formed an opinion. I think you will have an opinion when you clicked on this video. I doubt your opinion has changed probably because there's a lot of entrenched, I have paid for an iRacing subscription, therefore iRacing's better, or I paid for Le Mans Ultimate and I really want to be successful. Like, I don't think there's going to be a lot of people watching videos change their mind. Maybe it's opened your mind a little bit. I would also say, I feel like Le Mans Ultimate fans talk a lot about iRacing fans. I don't think, this might be controversial, I don't think a lot of iRacers really care too much about Le Mans Ultimate. They're happy in their iRacing space. I don't think they're trying to slap down Le Mans Ultimate. I just genuinely think it's not really on their radar. They've paid for all this content, they're going to keep using it. Maybe the tyre wars, I've seen some creators stoking the tyre wars and I wonder who's behind it, might be a battleground. And I have to say, if you want my honest opinion, I think the GT3, I think the GT3s are better in Le Mans Ultimate, but I love driving open wheel Formula cars and iRacing. Like I love driving the F4. I love driving the 1600 in VR. I like doing ovals sometimes. I'll just jump into random oval races as well. So I like all that in iRacing. But if you've made it this far, drop a fire emoji because it's a pretty fire video, let's be honest. This is me also in the new studio. So let me know what you think of that. And yeah, is Le Mans Ultimate actually more expensive than iRacing? I don't think so, but is it in the same ballpark? Yes. What does that mean?